And now to a story that we have been following closely here on News Nation, an alarming trend of sexual assault and harassment in the U.S. military.
Last night, we reported our exclusive details on the investigation into Asia Graham, the Fort Bliss soldier who reported being sexually assaulted on base and was later found dead in her barracks on New Year's Eve. Tonight, the Pentagon response and a retired major general blows the whistle, calling the military's handling of sexual assault and harassment the greatest threat to our national security. News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh here again tonight with the details. Rich.
Thank you, Marnie. While officials at Fort Bliss have declined our interview requests, a senior official at the Pentagon has agreed to speak with us about its handling of the Asia Graham case, calling it a tragedy at every possible level.
Bring her home! Bring her! They say no soldier left behind, and yet they left her behind. They left Vanessa Gehen behind.
The outrage over Vanessa Gehen's killing last year spread nationwide.
We want to make sure that the Gehen family know that we stand with them.
After her family said that the 20-year-old Army specialist had previously been sexually assaulted. Anger at the military's lack of response was intense.
She deserves to be heard. Her name is supposed to be heard.
Yeah! And it brought the issue of sexual assault in the military back to the forefront.
This is the military's Me Too moment.
In July, the Army ordered an investigation into, quote, command, climate, and culture within its program to prevent and respond to sexual harassment and sexual assault at Fort Hood. In December, it issued its Fort Hood report, which found the program ineffective and the command, quote, permissive of sexual harassment and assault. 14 Army officials were either fired or suspended from Fort Hood. Just 2 weeks later, Private First Class Asia Graham was found dead in her barrack on a different Texas base, Fort Bliss. Her cause of death still under investigation. According to her family, months before her death, she was a victim of sexual assault. They say she had reported her assault up the chain of command. In a letter to her mother before she died, she wrote, "I reported it in February. All they cared about, the Army doctrine and cover up themselves. I want to be heard, and they are not hearing me." Asia's family says they told her to shut up about it and accuses the Army of trying to cover this up.
Just shut up, quit talking about it. You keep talking about it, that's why you keep feeling about it. So just shut up about it, keep it moving, be quiet.
They told her to shut up.
Yes.
Shut up about it.
Keep it moving, and all they wanted to care about was her saying that she's fine. So
officials at Fort Bliss have declined our interview requests. Dr. James Hellis is a retired United States Army colonel and is the director of the Army's Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program, also known as SHARP. He agreed to speak with us at the Pentagon.
In your experience, is retaliation for people who report sexual assault in the military an issue?
Yes, and that is completely, totally unacceptable. I would say in Asia Graham's case, that case is a tragedy at every possible level. And I feel for her, I feel for her family and what they went through. But hers is a story where the chain of command heard, where the chain of command listened, the chain of command ran the case down, and we're going to bring her justice.
But Asia Graham herself said she wasn't being heard, that she reported it in February and that she was not being listened to.
The information the command has and that we have is that she reported the case in the summer of 2020, in June. It goes through the investigative process, goes through the legal review. The charging and the arraignment is held in January. The case has proceeded in what I would consider a timely manner for a sexual assault case.
Asia Graham's mother, however, provided a statement to News Nation insisting that Asia reported her assault in February 2020 to her lieutenant and 2 sergeants, that she was emotionally tormented, needed help, and forced to live across the hall from her assailant. The chain of command failed, she writes. Asia did not live to see justice.
The system, quote unquote, failed her. And someone needs to be held accountable for this.
General Robert Shadley is a retired Army Major General who has been focused on sexual assault in the military for 3 decades. He and his wife, Camilla Vance Shadley, with Never Alone Advocacy Group, are providing support to the family of Asia Graham. In the 1990s, General Shadley uncovered the U.S. Army's sex abuse scandal at Aberdeen in Maryland. He later wrote a book about it, The Game, Unraveling a Military Sexual Scandal.
Commanders are not enforcing rules, policies, regulations, and laws. They are doing the easy wrong instead of the hard right. They look to make the problem go away instead of solving the problem. But oftentimes you ignore it and the soldier goes away forever. It is a leadership issue. It is failure to establish and enforce high standards.
In your opinion, how widespread, how big of an issue is this in the military?
It is huge. In my humble opinion, the greatest threat to national security is not China or Russia, it's the United States military.
Because we can't protect our own soldiers, they're being assaulted and murdered and committing suicide at a higher rate than they are being murdered by our enemies in the Middle East.
Amy Frank is a sexual assault advocate for the United States Army. The Army hired her to help soldiers who report sexual assault and harassment navigate the process and help protect their rights. But she says the Army suspended her when she reported some of her findings up the chain of command. According to the suspension letter, the Army says they suspended her for possible ethics violations.
The leaders from the very, very top, they set the narrative. And if they're not telling it to all of their levels that protecting a victim is paramount to anything else, because it's a national security crisis.
And head honcho, the CG, with all of the proof and
Last week, this video of a Marine tearfully calling out her command thrust the topic of how the military handles sexual assault back into the national conversation.
This is exactly what males in the military kill themselves.
Who is not listening?
In my mind, you can start with the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, go down through General McConville, and other general officers. I can't recall in the last 30 years a 3- or 4-star general being punished except for the 4-star who indecently assaulted my wife.
In 2018, Camilla Vance Shadley made an official complaint against General Leon Solomon, accusing him of groping her, dating back to a 1994 incident at a Fort Belvoir party. She said when she went to say hello to General Solomon, her then-husband's commander, he put his hands on her breasts.
Suddenly I realized his hands were on my breasts. And I stopped, and my first thought was, what the hell just happened? I looked up at his eyes, and then I realized he hadn't changed one flicker of his expression. And I said to my husband, I'm absolutely furious. But in 1994, there was no place to go. I would have reported it up through him. And so I said, the truth is, as mad as I am, it is not going to destroy me. And if I do anything to argue this, it will destroy your career, because this is not a man who will take this and say, oh, you're right, I did something wrong. And so I said nothing.
When she filed the complaint, she says nothing happened.
They refused to in any way investigate, which was my original concern and complaint.
Did the Army go back and investigate? No.
Then she brought it to the attention of Senator Gillibrand.
Senator Gillibrand and several members of Congress got involved.
And I think they sat there and realized this is now sitting at the very senior levels of the Army, and the answer was, we're going to have to explain to the senator why we've done nothing. So we're going to fix that. Immediately, we're going to send a reprimand to him.
And within a matter of just a few days, we were informed that General Leon Solomon, retired 4-star, had received a General Officer Memorandum of Reprimand.
In a June 2019 statement, the Army wrote, General Solomon was reprimanded following the completion of a formal investigation. Appropriate action was taken. According to Army records, the special victim prosecutor investigating on the case concluded in December 2018 that there was probable cause to believe he committed the offense, indecent assault. However, no action was taken until a reprimand was issued in May 2019. General Solomon did not respond to our request for comment.
There is that reluctance to report, because who is going to believe us?
This systemic issue that's been going on inside of DOD isn't any different than the systemic issue we have in the civilian world too. The problem is the way they treat them.
This report is a damning indictment of Fort Hood and its leadership.
One of the key findings of the Fort Hood Independent Review was that the failures were in leadership.
We own what came out of Fort Hood. We've acknowledged it, we've accepted it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We absolutely accept the findings. We understand that we as an institution have failed our soldiers. We have lost the trust of too many of our soldiers.
But one of the main disagreements moving forward may be the crux of the issue. Should the military continue to be allowed to police itself? General Shadley says no.
We need to take felony prosecution of felonies in the military outside the chain of command to a separate legal system. Murder, rape, armed robbery. The military commanders are not designed to do that. Send those off to a separate legal system that can't be influenced by commanders who don't want bad press.
Last September, Congresswoman Jackie Speer introduced the I Am Vanessa Gehen Act to do just that, to move prosecution decisions of sexual assault and harassment cases out of the chain of command. President Biden has supported this in the past.
Do you agree with them?
I think it's a valid question. I think it's a question that we've examined in the past and have, in the past have concluded that this, in our judgment, that this best remains under commanders. I think commanders have got the capability to do this. They've shown that they are capable of doing that.
The commanders make a very huge point that they have to continue to have authority over sexual assaults. But with great authority comes great responsibility. And you're not using your authority to protect these service members, so you're not being responsible with your authority, so why do you need to continue to keep your authority? Vanessa Gehen, all these beautiful, vibrant young souls are no longer with us, and for what reason? Because they were important enough to protect?
Now, the new Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, has vowed to tackle this issue head on, and Dr. Hellis, who we just heard from, suggests that change is coming. He's even invited us back to the Pentagon in 6 months to discuss the progress that's been made. But many that we are speaking to and have spoken to remain skeptical.